Hi, I'm Lona from your Grad Diary. We're here today to help you, a final year uni student or a recent grad, get a job/internship. Today, we're specifically going to go through the process of digital interviews and how to stand out amongst a sea of thousands of applicants. So first of all, background is that I had a brief gig moderating these digital interviews, so I have the insider's perspective. But number two, I had a really good success rate with getting past digital interviews. I got AC/person-to-person interviews from a tier 2 consulting firm, a bank, FMCG, two of them were international, one of them was Australian, and two telco companies. But the thing is, when I started applying in 2024, I wasn't getting past any of these digital interviews. And when I started applying in 2025, I had way more success. So I'm here today to teach you what I did to get from a 0% success rate to about a 20-30% success rate passing from digital to AC. So what is a digital interview? A digital interview is a relatively new part of the interviewing process. It roughly looks like this at the moment. You submit your resume. If it passes, you get sent the psychometric test. If you pass a psychometric test, which is a bit like an IQ test, it tests your numerical and verbal reasoning, logic skills, you then get to the digital interview. The digital interview is where you get sent to this screen, right? And then a question will pop up and you have about 60 seconds to prepare a response to that question. It's a typical interview question like, what is your motivation for applying? Or tell me about a time where you demonstrated leadership. And after that 60 or so seconds of preparation time, you will record yourself answering that question for about 60 to 90 seconds. You'll submit it and it will get sent to the void. After that, you will get to the assessment center or a person-to-person interview. Now, digital interviews are relatively new and they're a bit of a mystery, right? We all have those pieces of advice that our parents and elders gave us regarding interviews, like have a firm handshake, smile a lot, wear a blazer, but digital interviews are a little bit new, so not everybody knows the etiquette, and that's what I'm here to teach you today. What is the point of a digital interview? From a company perspective, because things are online, they have like way more applicants than they historically would because it's easier to apply than ever. And so digital interviews just cut out a bunch of people before they get to the in-person stage. They're not going to in-person interview like thousands of people. They're not going to do that. Informally though, what I would say it is a vibe check. Just, seeing someone's vibe. You can't get that from a resume. But another way I would put it in a more formal way is to assess your competency, your alignment with the company, your alignment with your resume through audio-visual means. Somebody could have an amazing resume, but when you speak to them, you can already pick up like something's not right. Maybe they're exaggerating here, maybe da-da-da-da-da. And so this is just another way of assessing your competency. Every stage is assessing your competency in a different metric, right? The psychometrics is assessing your numerical, logical, verbal competencies. Digital interview is just the way you speak, the way you present yourself. All right, let's move on to basic etiquette. First of all, let's talk about the visual presentation. You want to dress nice, as if it's a real job interview. I personally wouldn't be wearing what I'm wearing right now. I have a pimple patch. I would take that off, right? Because it doesn't look super professional. I'm just having it on right now because I'm having a bad skin day. I also would take off this headband. It's really cute, but it's, again, maybe not the most professional. And I would actually put on a blazer. I think this top is fine. I would put on a blazer. I'm just gonna put one on right now. I got this from H&M, and let me tell you, this blazer is in every single photo of me on LinkedIn that has a blazer on. And you see how that just, again, immediately lends a little bit of visual credibility. What we're trying to translate is I'm competent, I'm credible, what I said on my resume is true, what my references say about me is true. It's not just me giving my friend's number to you and they're pretending to be my ex-boss or something, right? So everything we do is trying to convey this sense of competency. The next thing you want to do is have really nice lighting. It doesn't need to be super nice. You're not necessarily an influencer, but what I mean by nice lighting is they can see your face. If you can see my face clearly, that's good enough. You also want a clean background. I would say this is okay, right? It's not the best lighting, it's not the best background, but it's clean. Another thing is keep your background clean. This isn't necessarily the best looking background, but it's simplistic, The main thing you can see is the door frame, and the focus is on me. There's no piles of laundry or like people walking around in the background. You just want that clean background to, again, focus on you as a subject. It's just another way to demonstrate that you know the little things, you know the little pieces of etiquette. They're probably going to be asking themselves, is this how you will conduct yourself in a client meeting? What if you're talking to someone very important in the company? How will you represent us? If you can, move to a place in your house or apartment where it's just clear wall, white wall never fails. If you can, put a filter on the back. But yeah, again, it's a small thing, but it makes a big difference in the way your digital interview gets assessed. Number 3 or 4, never ever wear glasses. It sounds crazy, but don't wear glasses. For me, when I was assessing these interviews, a lot of the times the glasses would reflect off the screens in front of you, so it just makes it harder to see your eyes. And again, this is like a bit pedantic, but eyes do build trust, right? Eye contact does build trust. And another point is that because it reflects the screen, sometimes I can see what's on your screen. And if you're looking at ChatGPT, that's an instant fail. Like, I'm sorry. So just don't wear glasses. If you're short or long-sighted and you need them, try to wear contacts maybe. It just obscures the way you present in the video. And last but not least, check if you're on mute, just check your sound quality. There have been videos submitted where the person looked fantastic, they had great body language, but you can't hear anything they're saying because they must have forgotten to unmute themselves on their laptop. All right, now let's move to body language. Eye contact is really important. It's going to be kind of weird making eye contact because you're technically not talking to a person, you're talking to a camera. But I would just say look at yourself in the screen or look at the actual camera if you don't like looking at yourself and it makes you stressed. But demonstrating that you can hold eye contact is a form of social competency. The next tip I have is to smile at the start of each recording. Like, I think that energy is really important in the future of Australia. And then you can stop smiling and then make whatever point you're gonna make. But this, again, establishes a little bit of warmth to your interview. You're not necessarily acting like a robot. It's really awkward because there's no person on the other end that you can bounce that energy off to. But I still would highly suggest it because it does make a difference in how you're perceived. Number 3, hand gestures. Again, I highly recommend doing this. It's good body language. It's nonverbal communication. So I like to, if I'm making a point, I like to do this. Or, oh, actually, now that I'm talking about it, it's kind of awkward to make it, but I would try to practice some common hand gestures. If I'm trying to make a point and emphasize it, I like to do this, or like a little wave at the start, like, hi, my name is da-da-da-da-da. But yeah, if you're saying something quite genuine, I like to do a little hand heart. But yeah, again, it's just another thing that signals nonverbal competency or being comfortable in social settings. And last but not least, please don't read off the screen. Please don't do that because it's really obvious. Obviously, we all have some form of notes, right? But I have watched people do this, like, my name is da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I went to da-da-da-da-da, and it's not a good look. I know that some of you think that these are just going to be put into AI and turned into transcripts, and then they're only looking at the text that is going through and then selecting you based on what you literally say. But if you get to the AC or an in-person interview, they 100% do watch your digital interview beforehand. The AI stuff is probably true, but a real person will watch your digital interview if you are going to get interviewed in person. So just make sure you do present well. Okay, now time limits. I like to use sticky notes and stick them right next to the camera. And I like to use the STARF method. So you will probably get some behavioral questions. For those questions, I would use the STARF method, which is the STAR method plus F, situation, what was happening in the situation you're about to present. T, task, what was the objective or the thing that you needed to complete in that situation. A, action, what was the actions that you took in order to meet that objective or resolve that conflict. And R, what was the result? So you hit the KPI, or this many sales were made, or this conflict was actually resolved and had a great outcome. And F is just one I really like to add in. This is for future lessons, future findings. It's just a little takeaway that you got from the situation. Like, I've learned the importance of gaining stakeholder alignment at the beginning of the project, so that you can make sure things are very efficient from the start and, you know, not be misaligned and da 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 da. Okay, now things you can do that are above and beyond that I believe took me from a 0% success rate to like a 20-30% success rate. One is really research the company. I have like a 60-70 page doc of all the research I did on every company that I got a digital interview for. Not even joking. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of the times people will just say very generic things. Like, I want to work for this bank because you have a great reputation and you care about customers. Is that not everyone? Is that not every big company? What you want to do is show that you care about this specific bank, details about this specific bank. You want to know about the industry as well. Where does this bank kind of rank in comparison to other banks? What is this bank specifically known for or has a differentiating factor in, right? And you want to say that. But another thing is learn about the industry. If you're going to apply for a bank, you need to know a little bit about banking. You need to know a little bit about finance, as well as the challenges they go through, some important terms like when inflation rates go up or inflation rates go down, or what the RBA is. You don't need to be from a finance background to apply to a bank, but just knowing a little bit sets you apart. Elevator pitches. This is a 15-second introduction of yourself. I would just practice this. This is going to apply to basically every single interview you do, or even when you go networking, but it's basically something you want to memorize off by heart. Hi, my name is da 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 da. I graduated from this at this university. I've worked in these places, and I'm very interested in your company because of A, B, and C. Something like that. And then the next one is, that just helps eliminate a little bit of stress when you get the question, tell me a bit about yourself. It's a very natural way to start things, and then you can segue into whatever point you want to make. Number 3, I would recommend recording yourself with practice questions. So let's say you were going to apply for an Australian bank. One of the practice questions would probably be, why do you want to work for this bank specifically? I would record myself and then say things within a 60-second or 90-second time limit, and then watch it back and go, that sounded disingenuous. I'm not going to say that. Or that's a great line. I'm going to use that in the actual digital interview. Number 4, I would just create a massive document with all the situations you've been through. So I have a document that describes a time where I demonstrated leadership, collaborative thinking, problem solving on the spot, stakeholder alignment, stakeholder management. I recommend like looking at your resume and then just trying to draw things from your resume. And, you know, like the time I worked here, I demonstrated this, this, and this. This just helps cut down a lot of the on-the-spot thinking, because a lot of interviews are going to ask you very similar behavioral questions, and you can just quickly refer to the doc and go, okay, that is a time where I demonstrated leadership, and this question is asking for leadership, so I'm going to reference this situation, STARF. And finally, a random piece of advice. I really don't recommend using AI unless you're generating practice questions. AI generated answers tend to sound a certain way, and a lot of companies, even though they're very AI forward, they don't want you replacing your social skills and on-the-spot thinking with AI. So I just wouldn't recommend that. That's my personal recommendation. I'm not against AI. I think that you should use it to generate practice questions or like potential case studies if you are going to get a case study in your interview. But as for like introducing yourself and, you know, STARF, I would just try to practice that so that it comes to you organically. It's a skill you do need to build if you are going to go into the next stage of the in-person interview. You can't ask AI to just create something for you on the spot. You have to be able to respond on the spot. So that's my piece of advice. If you would like digital interview coaching, please email me at yourgraddiary@gmail.com, or if you want my 80 company grad tracker or ATS-friendly resume template, you can find it on my website, yourgraddiary.com. As well as follow my LinkedIn. I have a lot of little infos there, but I will come out with more products and more resources and more YouTube videos. So please comment any questions you have or any videos in the future you'd like me to make. And I hope that this video helped and made you feel a little bit more confident with digital interviews. Remember, if you got to the digital interview stage, it means you passed the resume stage. So you are qualified and eligible for the role. and you pass psychometrics, which means you are smart enough verbally or logically or numerically, good enough for the company. This part is hard and it's really hard to pass. So if you get rejected, don't take it personally. It's really hard to pass, but once you pass it, you should know that you are definitely good enough. You're already good enough, but in this day and age, it takes a certain set of skills to get to the offer. And so that's what I'm helping you do, is building on those skills and helping you become more confident and hopefully landing that offer in the end. So yeah, good luck. And please follow me at yourgraddiary.com on IG, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Please like and subscribe and comment if you have any questions or video ideas for me. But yeah, until next time, thank you.